Good day. For the World Empowering Lumen Congress on Multidimensional Education, Welcome 22, happening in November 22nd till 26th, 2022, in Iasi, Romania, Claudia Constantinescu and Mirela Anghel have prepared a presentation on educating social workers in intercultural communication and mediation. Communication is cultural, and it also reflects how we speak and we send nonverbal messages. We do not communicate the same way from day to day, since the factors like personality, context, and mood interact with a variety of cultural influences that we have obtained and that affect our choices. Communication is interactive, so as an important influence on its effectiveness has the relationship with others. Do they understand what we say? Are they a good listener? Do we understand when it comes to our turn to reply? Is there trust between those who communicate? The answers to these questions will give us more clues on the effectiveness and ease of communication that can turn off the conflict. The challenge is that although there is good in the world of communication, differences can occur anytime, especially when those who belong to the communication process come from different cultural background. Now, Michel Baron is writing about the term bad communication that can lead to conflict or even worse, worsening an existing one. We have, whether we realize it or not, a different perspective on the world and the place we occupy in it and our relationship with others. Intercultural communication is emphasized and demonstrated by example of ideas, attitudes, and behaviors that are based on 4 variables: time and space, faith and personal responsibility, face-and-face savings, and non-verbal communication. As we get familiar with these points, we begin to cultivate a certain fluency, a cultural awareness on how such acts in communication and conflict, cultural ability, could respond effectively to those differences. Intercultural communication is produced in any place a message needs to be understood. It is produced by a member of a culture and can be consumed by another. The circumstance can cause problems because, as we have already seen, culture forges and shapes individual. Culture is responsible of making the social relations and for individual repertoires of behaviors and communicative meaning. The human communication repertoires can vary significantly from a culture to another and can lead to any kind of difficulties. Through the study and understanding of intercultural communication, the difficulties can be at least reduced and sometimes eliminated. Producing, transmitting, and interpretation of cultural message are illustrated in the fact that when a message leaves a culture in which it was coded, the feature content of its producer really counts. It matters. This is represented by the fact that some origins of the producer's message might get a certain interpretation. It suffers a transformation due to the fact that the culture has the decoded message influences which alter or transform the interpretation and thus the meaning. The content of the original message changes in the interpretation phase of the intercultural communication because the cultural repertoires are different from the social realities. Cultural differences can be observed in variation within a dominant culture. Social-cultural differences can be seen between the members of, let's say, two different churches between middle class of the American society and the poor, or the majority of people and the LGBTQ plus community. In both groups, there are something in common than just examples given. They probably talk the same language, have the same religion, or go to the same school and live in the same neighborhood. Yet, at some level, there are differences. They don't all share the same experiences, and they don't all have the same perception. Obviously, they all see the world different. As we stand at the threshold of the 21st century, we are in a unique position to enjoy the benefits of freedom, of accessibility to information that enabled us to advance in the information age. As Walter Benjamin has stated, all the great texts contain their potential translation between the lines, and, if it is true, the task of the translator is daunting. However, it provides us with a worthy challenge for the 21st century, the effort to ensure that minimal meaning is lost in translation. Now, the concept of interculturalism is widely used today in various fields like human science, education, and involves the idea of interrelations, the relations and exchanges between different cultures. Based on this concept, in what the term distinguishes intercultural communication, we do not come in contact with cultures and national identities, but also the communication that always involves people who circulated or publicized the relationship between the cultures. Vice Timothy, in accentuating the importance of relations between culture, states that intercultural communication must first understand the relationships established between individuals or groups belonging to different cultures. It is a relational fact that interests here, even if it brings a background of representations, values, codes, and lifestyles and ways of thinking specific to each cultures. Communicating with other people from other nationalities, of other cultures, we obviously encounter the problem of the language. But such communication is anchored in the attitudes and mechanisms, and the psycho dictates our representations and conduct in this area. In conclusion, for a social worker to understand these attitudes and mechanisms, first, it is necessary to study how they developed in childhood. This will help clarify the question of intercultural similarities and differences in the relationship. Self-consciousness and consciousness related to others. A philosophical current says that an awareness of self is not only achieved by close relationship with each other. Thus, for Hegel, consciousness itself can shape not only through a different consciousness, but at the same time, to get rid of this addiction, it tends to assert itself as being unique and therefore to exclude the other. Thank you for your attention.